Welcome along to obviously Fight Talk episode 96, and as you can tell if you're looking on YouTube, we're still at home. We haven't gone back to work yet, people. So happy New Year. Firstly, Rob, happy New Year to you, pal. Yeah, it's the exact same as last year. It's just a different day. Yesterday was Sunday, today is Monday. Hashtag New Year, New Me. Sorry, say again. I don't believe in New Year's resolutions. Just be a good person all the time. I'm going back to work. Before we move on, shout out as always to Fight Store Ireland, the Fighter's Choice. Everything you need under two roofs. Go check them out. They'll have January sales now, folks. That's the great thing. You've lost all your money on Santa Claus and all presents and Chris Kindles and nights out and stuff like that. So go to Fight Store and you'll get some good sales, I'd say. And to MMAmix.com, they're obviously good because they're with obviously Fight Talk. And feelsupreme.co.uk. I haven't said it in a while, Rob. Go check them out as well. And tell them the lads from obviously Fight Talk send you by using air code Fight Talk, and that'll get you 10% off. But yeah, it's some weekend the fights, Rob. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But let's jump, Rob, straight away into a little bit of news. We're not going to be a full extended show. It's ever going to run for about an hour. All things going well here, Rob. So 2 minutes on the clock, and let's look at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu star turned MMA fighter Mackenzie Dern will make her UFC debut in early 2018. The news was confirmed on an episode of MMA Digest by UFC matchmaker Sean Shelby. Dern will arrive in the UFC with a professional record of 5 wins and no defeats. So it's obviously going to be the strawweight division. I think Dern, she's only fought there, although she's had a bit of weight issues making the weight. But what do you think of this signing, Rob?
I like it. Sorry, I think the mic was off there for a second. I like the signing. Mackenzie Dern, she's definitely a prospect in the division at this point. I don't think she's fully there. She still relies a lot on her grappling, as you would, like any fighter coming in from a heavily influenced background like that would rely on. Her striking's getting there. She certainly has power. If you watch her fights, when she lands, she does land hard. So I will give her that. But she definitely relies on her ground game. I hope the UFC has the ability to kind of bring her along slow once to get her in there. I hope she's not thrown to the wolves because she's definitely a prospect. She has star power, and you can see there's a lot of people talking about her, even though she's only a couple of fights into her career. There's a lot of people talking about her at the moment. So I just hope that they don't rush her when she does go in there. But it's definitely a good sign on the UFC's behalf.
The big thing with Dern is I think she's scheduled to fight Ashley in the first fight in March. I think it's going down in March. So Yoder has had 2 UFC fights already and she's lost both. So what you were saying about feeding her to the lions, it doesn't look like they're going to do that. Yeah. Yoder lost to Kish and Angelia Hill. So, it's a good test, obviously, coming from Invicta as well, Dern. It is a good sign, and there's a lot. You heard about Dern a lot before she was even fighting with this. She's won like gold medals at the best grappling competitions worldwide.
So Garcia, I'm pretty sure as well.
So it's a huge signing, but hopefully, as you said, Rob is correct. But something we always speak about is with the strawweight division, you're really only a couple of wins away from being there or thereabouts, just because of the depth of the pool. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see if Dern gets a few wins together quickly, how quick they'll push her up. But I think the opening fight, someone who's 0-2 in the UFC, shows that they're trying to let her, maybe get the octagon jitters or get used to the canvas and the big lights, and there's going to be a lot more publicity on her. The fact that it's them 3 letters UFC instead of Invicta. Yeah. The California State Commission wants 4 fighters to move up in weight class after competing at UFC Fresno earlier this month. The list includes Marlon Moraes, along with Alcantara, Devi Ramos and Luke Sanders. They were flagged by the State Commission doctors after weigh-ins on fight day well over the Commission's regulations of staying within 10% of the contracted weight. The Commission will not license the 4 fighters at their current weight classes in the future without extensive medical documentation from a licensed physician certifying the weight class is appropriate and verified by CSAC physicians. So this is something we were talking about, Rob. Weight cutting is a big issue. As we said, we talked about this as well before. The California State Commission, they want you, when you weigh in, you're not to be a certain higher weight class, or a certain amount of pounds added back onto you come fight day. So obviously it's a bit of a weird one, especially for Marlon Moraes, who's on a bit of a tear at the moment. You know, for him, it's an easy solution, just obviously in California. But like, apart from that, you know, is this the way forward, and is it the correct thing?
Potentially, like, I think it's a very good thing. I think the commission's taking over this instead of like the UFC is a good thing. You know, I think that's always a good thing as well. It's just a weird one. You'd wonder if the late notice affected Marlon. I don't think so, because I'm not sure how that would affect your body. Even if it's late notice, you cut a lot of weight. Does that change how much weight you put back on? Potentially, I don't know. That's all comes down to the science of it. But I definitely think something like this is a good idea, because if scientifically they can prove that, okay, you've put so much of a percentage back on, therefore you cut so much weight. If it's probably most likely it's down to a science. They probably haven't just picked a number out of the blue. So I think it's a good thing. But it'll be very interesting if he does have to move up to 45, because he's on a bit of a tear in that division right now. That's the
hard thing, isn't it, for it? But like I said, the solution is easy. It's just, we don't stick him in California. But at the same time, it'd be interesting to see what other commissions, even with the new rule set and stuff, the way the new rule set isn't adopted in Las Vegas and stuff like that. It'd be interesting to see. You know, sometimes commissions would play along together, exactly, and if you're not going to get a license to fight in California, other commission states won't allow you to fight there either. But with this, I don't know, they're the lone wolves in this one, where this is their rule set. So it'd be interesting to see going forward if they do adopt it.
Yeah, I know that a few fighters have fought in California, and they've been told that they have to move up in weight, and since they haven't fought at all. So I don't know if that's a decision by the UFC to say, okay, if you're not moving up in weight, we're not giving you a fight, or it's just coincidental. Could be coincidental, but we'll see.
See, the argument as well could be, you know, if Dominic Cruz always says that weight cutting is part of being a professional, and if you're a good professional and you can cut weight and put poundage back on, like you look at Darren Till. Darren Till is massive after he gets in there after weight cut. So, you know, if he's good enough that he can make that cut, it's his disadvantage that if you're telling him, you know, just because you're good at it, you can't fight at this weight class.
I suppose, yeah.
Long-time Bellator colour commentator Jimmy Smith will no longer announce for the promotion. A press issued by the company on Thursday announced that the company and the announcer have mutually agreed to part ways. I was very surprised by this. I think if they hadn't adopted Goldie and Mauro Ranallo recently, you'd be a lot more surprised. Obviously Jimmy's been on with us a couple of times and obviously Fight Talk, but for me, and I don't say this lightly, but for me, Jimmy Smith was the voice of Bellator. Like the whole comparison of him and Joe Rogan, and Luke Thomas actually spoke about this as well. The only comparison is they look similar. That's it. They're very
stumpy, bald, muscular. That's it, really.
Like, they're very different in their styles of how they call fights and how they announce fights. But there's a little bit of a rumour that the UFC could be after Jimmy Smith as well, and I think he'd be a brilliant sign, add to the team in the UFC. The UFC at the moment have an MVP list of commentators and colour commentators, but I definitely think Jimmy Smith would be like you know, the Galactos of commentators would be added to by Jimmy Smith. I love how he calls his fights, and I love his, like, he knows, like, Rogan, when Rogan calls a fight, he really calls step by step and stuff like that, and what he sees happening. But Jimmy Smith, he goes into more detail, but in a different way, if you know what I mean. He knows a lot more of the background of fighters. He just has a different style, and I really like listening to Jimmy Smith, and I honestly think he would be a magnificent sign for the UFC to get him on part of the team.
Yeah, I completely agree. I was surprised by it. Definitely surprised by it. I don't think the signing of Mauro and Goldie made a difference, in my opinion, of if I was surprised, not just because they do a completely different role. But for me, I agree. I think he's the voice of Bellator. Like, every time you listen to a Bellator broadcast, pretty much Jimmy Smith is there. They'll rotate the play-by-play guy, but pretty much the colour guy is Jimmy Smith. I think he will be missed as well. And if people do want to get more of an extended kind of opinion piece on him, I do recommend people check out Luke Thomas's one, because that was a kind of a tribute of sorts to Smith, and just kind of asking the question of what he's going to do next. I hope the UFC signs him. I think if he doesn't sign with the UFC and he signs with somebody where we're not going to be able to hear him, I think the MMA world will be missing something, because I think he's an excellent commentator.
Yeah, perfect. And Luke Thomas was saying that Chael Sonnen is going to be stepping in the interim until they come to something else, possibly Frank Mir. And of course, Frank Mir has been working with ACB with Brian Lacey. So yeah, interesting times ahead. Nate the Great Marquette has retired from MMA after 18 years of MMA competition. Marquette, who's 38, has decided to hang up his gloves. The former Strikeforce champion said that he will continue to be heavily involved in MMA, but won't compete in the sport again. The right call, I think, here, Rob. I
think so. We always have the conversation about people retiring, fighters retiring, and giving our opinion on whether they should retire. And I don't really like answering that one, because it's not really who am I to say. But certain guys, when you watch them, a lot of people, and my opinion would be that I don't want to see them fight again. And Marquardt kind of fell under that category where I don't have a whole lot of interest in him watching him fight again. I think he's done so much. He's had like 50 odd fights or something crazy like that. So I've no interest in seeing him fight again. He had an excellent career, never a UFC champion, but he was always up there in that division, and excellent career. I think it's the right move, and of course he's going to be involved in MMA, because if you spend that much time doing something for your life, you can't just walk away from it completely, I'm sure.
Mark, he's currently, he was currently riding a 3-fight losing streak. So, it's the right time, 38 years of age as well. Before that, he had a win, he had a loss. He's fought the who's who in MMA as well. But he was becoming the ultimate, let's give an up-and-comer. Now I'm saying that his second to last fight was Vitor Belfort. But you don't want to be seeing him being the guy who's just being put in against the young up-and-coming guys and getting beaten up for the sake of it. A lot of his fights, he has looked like the trigger just wasn't getting pulled and stuff. But look, he won. You got to look, when he won the Strikeforce title, he beat Tyrone Woodley to get there as well. Like, you know what I mean?
Crazy knockout too.
And that's Woodley's last defeat, isn't it? I'm right in saying that, am I?
No, I think he lost to Jake Shields or something in the UFC. Woodley. That's just off the top of the head. I can't remember. Is that right?
If we only had a way of finding out, Robert.
Yeah. Go on, you can check it.
Yeah, he's lost to Rory McDonald.
Yeah.
And Jake Shields, yeah, you're right. But look, great career, Nate Marquardt. Great fighter, big fan of him. Didn't realise he was such a God guy. He was going on about God and Jesus and all. Jesus loves MMA. I was surprised that God is such a big fight fan. But anyway,
man, Jesus loves MMA.
Jesus loves knockouts.
Yeah.
The right move. So well done to Nate Marquardt and a great career. And thanks for the memories. That is flying knee knockout. I can't remember who it was over, but
knockout over Damien Maia as well in 10 seconds or something.
Yeah. Carl Dorland crying in the corner. But Rob, let's look at an incredible fight card that went down at the weekend. I ill prepared, I didn't have this pulled up, but let's start at the main card. And unfortunately my heart was broken here, Rob. The excitement and the return of Carlos Condit, for me, I was, it's not a secret. Yeah, it's not a secret that I'm a big Carlos Condit fan. He'd been away for 16, 18 months. He came in, but I don't think that's what lost him the fight. Neil Magny got the unanimous decision, but I think, and what I have to say is, you put up a poll on the obviously Fight Talk Twitter page about, is Dominic Cruz, how do you like his commentary or whatever, and I don't know what the actual result was. It was leading at one stage and people were saying yes, they do like him. But Condit, brilliantly pointed out by Dominic Cruz, he starts a lot of his attacks with a leg kick. It's almost like his jab. He kicks his way into start, and Magny was countering that, which wasn't allowing Carlos Condit to release the follow-up combinations after that. So for me, Neil Magny was just one step ahead of Carlos Condit. He had him figured out. At the end of the first round, Condit started coming into it, and you could feel that he was starting to find his range, but the round ended and Neil Magny just picked up where he left off in the second and third round and nullified everything that Carlos Condit looked at him. I wouldn't say Carlos Condit is finished. Looking at him, he didn't look like the way you were saying, Rob, about you wouldn't tell a fighter when to hang up the gloves around. He didn't look finished. He does look like still a top 10 guy, but I think Luke Thomas as well. Jeez, Luke Thomas getting some shout outs here today. But similar to the week previous, Robbie Lawler was fighting, and a lot of people account that to the war he had with Rory McDonald. I don't think that Robbie Lawler or Carlos Condit are the same fighters after their war.
Yeah.
To go through what they went through, Condit, like, he's a berserker. He's controlled aggression and violence. It's a ballet of violence, really, with the way he links up his combinations, to when he's on the ground, when he's trying to do it. But again, that's almost his downfall. Similar to what you were saying, Rob, with Sergio Pettis. Sometimes when he goes on his back, he'd stay there for the round.
Stay there, yeah.
Yeah, and it's not like Carlos is resigned to stay there. He's always attempting submissions or, going for triangles or arm bars. But Magny was ahead of that, and he was making him pay when he had him on the ground. But I just think, maybe Carlos Condit, he's not the same guy he was pre-Robbie Lawler fight, and he could say the same for Robbie Lawler. But that's not to take away. I don't want to be saying, it was all because Carlos wasn't doing this or whatever. Neil Magny performed beautifully on Saturday night, and it was a great performance. Probably, you could argue, Magny's best name of his career.
So, yeah.
And a great win for Neil Magny, considering he just came off a heavy defeat as well. So yeah, great victory for Neil Magny.
Yeah, it was an excellent performance by Neil Magny, but I think when you brought up the whole idea of him having Condit's number, or him kind of reading Condit very early, I think Condit is similar in a way to like the Diaz brothers, where at this point in his career, I think a lot of good tacticians, in terms of like coaches or even fighter tacticians, kind of have an idea of what you need to do to beat Condit, and that's not easy. You can't just say, all right, this is what you do to beat Condit, and go in and do it. You still have to have the ability and be able to pull that off. But I think with Condit at this point, you kind of know what you need to do against him. You need to strike at length. Once you get into the clinch, try to take him down. He's not the best at getting up off his feet, but he will. Just try not to get caught up against the cage, because you could see at times Condit, when he was having success, he was backing Neil Magny up against the cage, landing some good elbows, but it just didn't happen often enough. And I do agree with the whole point that Luke made, was he didn't look shot born, didn't look like he was he was out there. He just didn't look great, but he also didn't look like a guy who was offered that long. So I don't know where he goes next. It's a weird one. Neil Magny though, again, he's kind of always there and thereabouts, isn't it? Definitely the best name he's be.
Yeah, look, I mean, you look at the defeat he came off, like RDA absolutely ran through him. You know what I mean? So to go from fighting RDA to going to fighting a former interim champion, and like, Magny never looked in trouble in the fight. He looked in full control. So it was a superb victory for Neil Magny. And like I said, considering bouncing back off, like, he got an absolute destruction against RDA, like, so to come back and put in that performance, a tip of the hat to you, sir, and thanks for breaking me heart.
Before we move on, that was very nicely put. Before we move on, there is a couple of comments there in the live chat. Unfortunately, I don't really monitor them that well, so that's why we're not really responding to them. But if you have any questions, just put them in the live chat, and we'll try to get to a few of them at the end, because it's kind of difficult to keep an eye on the live chat as we go along. But just throw them in the comments.
Female Damien Moya, I presume, is definitely about Mackenzie Dern.
Mackenzie Dern, yeah.
Took him a bit to figure it out. I'm not too sure what that.
Probably the live stream. Probably me fucking around with the audio, I guess.
Probably. Yeah.
But yeah, we'll get
your
to something at the
podcast
end.
is fucking great. Keep
Thanks,
up the
mate.
good work.
Thanks,
Cheers, Stephen. Nice to hear that. Next bet of the evening, Rob, was your pick for next year, and you said it beautifully on Twitter. You went, I picked her to break out next year, not this year.
Yeah.
Brilliant. It was. I applauded. I gave you a little sitting here. Gave you an applaud. But Carla Esparza gets the O of Calvillo, and you got to say, I was sort of saying, Esparza is a real one-dimensional, old, almost like a throwback style MMA fighter. But she looked good in there. Like, you definitely argues Cynthia won the first round and won the first round well. But after that, it was all Carla Esparza.
Yeah, it was a weird one, because Cynthia looked really well in the first, and it kind of looked like she was taking over the fight. And in the second round, she comes out, and it looked like a completely different fight. It looked like the first round didn't even happen. I'm not sure what that was. Maybe she felt comfortable on the feet, but it didn't look like she was going for his mate. Like, she got a very clean takedown on Esparza in the first round. I think it was a double leg, and she looked good on top, as she generally does. But the second round, she kind of stood with Esparza, and maybe looking at Esparza's last couple of fights, and like I said on the last show, I thought Cynthia would have been able to handle her on the feet. I thought, even though our striking isn't that polished, I thought she'd be able to beat Esparza, who hasn't looked great either on the feet. So maybe she was just comfortable there, and then the lack of experience didn't really help her to say, all right, I need to go get takedowns now and work my game. It was close, but I definitely gave it to Carla Esparza. Very good performance, really, really good performance. But yeah, still, that's my pick for next year. I think she's going to bounce back.
And it's a funny in the old game of the mixed martial arts how quick tides turn, and here we are now. Esparza, where I was saying she looks like somebody who, you know, and I didn't mean it disrespectfully, but it's almost like her game hasn't evolved. It's like the stages of MMA is, you know, you're a specialist in this and you're a specialist in this, and then all of a sudden you became a mixed martial arts, and you can see the modern MMA fighter now has a tool in every trade, if you like, where they can do everything, while Esparza, I felt, wasn't that. But you know, she looked like when you look at her against Joanna Jędrzejczyk, now a lot of, you know, I know that's a tall measuring stick to measure anyone by, but like she looked like, you know, these two shouldn't even be in the same sport as each other here. So to go from that and getting, you know, a good victory over Lima, then she dropped one to Marquez, but now the win over Moraz and now Cavillo, who over Cavillo I think is very impressive, because I think if she wins that fight, she was going to be the next big push for the UFC as well, and promoting a fighter. I see no reason why not.
Yeah, she was already being pushed by the UFC. Do you feel like there was a little bit of underestimating her on Carvillo's part?
Yeah, especially, I don't know, did you watch all the embedded stuff?
I watched a few of them, didn't watch them all.
Yeah, it was real. She just sort of felt like, from what she, like, that's confidence though. All fighters, hindsight is a magnificent tool, but let's use it. She was sort of saying that, you know, everywhere this fight goes, I'm better on the feet, I'm better on the ground. If she comes to the ground, she's going to be swimming with a shark and stuff like that. So that's beforehand can be perceived as confidence. Now after it, you could perceive it as, oh yeah, she just thought she was better, so, you know, she sort of set herself up for a fall here. But no, I don't think she underestimated. I think you'd be foolish to underestimate Carla Esparza, because what Carla Esparza can do, she does very well. But it's like what you said with Neil Magny. You know the idea what to do to try and beat Carlos Condit. So with Carla Esparza, I'd almost say you know what to avoid in how to not lose to Carla Esparza. And I just think that Calvillo didn't do that well. She didn't. She sort of let Esparza take over the fight after the first round. And Carla Esparza, if she'd do that, if anyone let her take the fight where she wants to go.
Is that a goal?
No, to hit the post, sorry. Hit the post. One Matt to hit the post, sorry.
He's a Manchester United fan, if you haven't noticed.
But yeah, I just think that if anyone was to let Carla Esparza do what she wanted, the result would be similar. So I think it's a learning curve, and like it's weird. It's quite weird that you think Carvalho is a young fighter. She's not. She's 30. She's young. She's young in her career. Yeah. But I think she should. Hopefully she'll learn from that.
I think it was as well a lack of experience. I do think after that first round, I think a more experienced fighter would have pursued what she did in the first round more than she did in the second and third, where she kind of, especially after the second when it started to get competitive, I thought she should go back to the takedown, should really push for it, because even if she's not getting them, you know, she was still the aggressor. You know, she was the aggressor for most of the fight.
But what's next for Carla Esparza? Who'd you put Carla Esparza up against next?
Put me on the spot. I don't have the rankings or anything up here. I don't know. Do you have any suggestions? And I'll say yay or nay.
I don't know. Like maybe like
it's a weird one.
Carolina. Do you fight Carolina?
Yeah, go with that one. That's
because, you know, again, the whole 2-0. Sorry, I'm looking over again now. It's not the whole 2-0. You know, again, you're going to be. She's in the top 5 anyway in the division. So on a 2-fight win streak, you got to give her someone big. So that's probably the fight that potentially. I'm not too sure if Carolina is matched. I don't think she is. Moving up the card, then the next bout of the evening was disappointment for Brit Mark Diakese. He was on the end of a beautiful guillotine choke by Daniel Hooker. But I'll let you say your thoughts on the fight before I say it. But what do you think of this one up?
Slightly disappointing. In Mark Diakese, because we've been big fans of Mark Diakese since he's been on the regional scene around these parts, and I just don't see a huge amount of development in his game since he's moved to the UFC. He's certainly maybe got a little bit better, but I don't see huge improvements. He's still the type of fighter who is very, very flashy and can land some really good stuff. He throws some really flashy stuff that will knock out a lot of people, but once that doesn't happen, He doesn't really have anything to fall back on, and he has plenty in his game, but he doesn't really have anything of the basics to fall back on, whereas some people maybe can fall back on wrestling, someone can fall back on, you know, really technical striking or something. It just seems that Mark Diakese at this point doesn't really have that. He doesn't have kind of a plan B. He has the plan A of go in there, throw a lot of flashy stuff, try get a finish. If it doesn't happen, sometimes what we seen yesterday can happen, or on Saturday can happen.
Yeah, that's what I felt looking at the fight. Like Mark now has dropped 2 in a row, so he's in a predicament now with the UFC. But as you correctly said, Rob, I felt with Mark, he's always looking for that highlight reel finish, if you know what I mean. He doesn't go in, he doesn't have a fundamental game plan, if you know what I mean. It seems like he's going in and he's trying. He does it on all the social media. He does this kick where it's like almost like a bicycle kick into a roundhouse.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It's incredible, but it's almost like he's trying to pull off that highlight flash finish each fight. And when somebody frustrates him, the way Hooker was pawning him with a jab beautifully as well. He was making him work an awful lot as well, and he was keeping Diakese in his range more than Diakese was in his range. And then, like, he'd set him up beautifully. The guillotine choke was absolutely, it was deep and it was sunk. But he frustrated Diakese where he wasn't giving him openings, and you could see, like, Diakese's corner basically said to him, no more takedowns. Yeah. No, we don't want any more takedowns from you. This was in between rounds 2 and 3. He comes out in round 3, sort of gets caught with it. I think it was a jab, was it? He got caught with, didn't like it, and rushed in for the takedown, and got the guillotine choke applied, and the fight was over. But it seems as well, I think Donald Cruz said it as well, Diakese doesn't like getting hit. Now, I don't know too many fighters who do like getting hit, but you know what I mean? Like, it's not the idea. Yeah, but it's like, you know, he seemed to crumble a little bit when he got hit, and he got fairly frustrated, and that's where the end came, was through his frustration, where he rushed in for the takedown, left the neck hanging, and Daniel Hooker said, oh, it's a late Christmas present for me, let's parcel that up, wrap it and put a bow on it, and a great finish by Hooker. But disappointing night for Mark Diakese. Like, what's next for Mark Diakese? Yeah, I presume, I would imagine the UFC will keep him around for one more fight, but what's next, you know?
Maybe they'll get him on the London card. When is that? That's March or April, is it? March. Probably on the London card. I don't know who against. Like, at this point, he's not really fighting contenders, really. It's going to be the kind of bottom lower level guys, because he's on a losing streak. So who knows? Have a pick of the lower level guys there and give him someone there. But I really hope we see improvements, because he has a lot of talent. It just seems like, as we said, he doesn't really have that fundamental game to fall back on. And someone in the comments there, King Killer, Hooker had a good game plan. That's completely correct. Kind of like Neil Magny, he went in there with a good game plan and won the fight. It was very impressive.
Martial just scored. Get in! But no, I 100% agree that, like, with that, sorry, you said the King Killer, Hooker did have a great game plan, and that's what I'll move over so anyone watching on YouTube can see the goal.
I think that's illegal. You're illegally live streaming the football. Sky Sports will be after BT.
I'm not watching it on Sky Sports. Hold on, let's have a look. Pogba, wonderful ball. Martial, pick it out, son. Top corner.
Nice show, ladies and gentlemen.
But no, King Killer, you're absolutely right, and that's what a game plan, and that's where I felt turned the tables. That's what Diakese didn't seem to have. He had to go for the rush, go for the knockout, go for the big win, but he didn't have the, right, this isn't working, plan B. And his plan B was a panic to dive in for the takedowns, which cost him the fight. Well, I think he was losing the fight anyway, but it cost him a tap. I think I'm right in saying that's the first time that Mark Diakese has ever been stopped.
I think so. At least, you know, in recent memory anyway.
But, like, the big thing with Mark as well, Mark is only 24.
Yeah.
He is only 24 years of age, so he's, you know, plenty of time. He is so much power. He has all the flashiness. He just needs to mix that up, set that up. Like, if a guy knows you're going to be coming at, like, with whirlwind, spinning roundhouse kicks, wheelhouse kicks and stuff like that, they can sort of expect it. But when you have that set up for it, the fundamentals get you to that. And I just think Mark, like, at 24 years of age, I think he has a huge future ahead of him. But, you know, 2 hard lessons to learn, 2 defeats, but, you know, it could be the secret ingredient into success for Mark. And hopefully so, because, you know, he's a former guest of the show as well. I've gone out and had a beer with Mark previously, and he's a top guy. He's a nice guy as well. So hopefully he learns from it, and we'll see him back in there. And I imagine it will be March in London, Rob. Great call. Yeah. Let's move to the co-main, and holy lamb of God, Khabib Nurmagomedov taking on Edson Barboza. I put up on Facebook after the fight, the best lightweight on the planet. I didn't get many disagreeing with me. I had Andy Taj Young, of course, who was the former Obama champion, say there's a few holes in his games where he still sort of bows his head, drops his head as he's throwing the overhand. He walks down a little bit. There's a couple of comments here that we'll get to on the live stream as well, lads. We will hit them up. What do we think about Conor? But let's talk about the fight first. Rob, what did you think of Khabib's performance on Saturday?
Incredible, scary, terrifying, excellent. Let me get up the dictionary with more words for excellent. Pretty much, it was incredible. He does things, as kind of Andy Young was saying. He definitely does things that look like are holes, and maybe they are. Maybe someone like Conor or somebody else or Tony Ferguson can capitalise on that. But what he's done so far in his 20 plus, 25 plus wins on a streak has been incredible. What he done to the number 4 lightweight in the world last night, making him look like he didn't really belong in there with him, making him look like he wanted to get out of there, was incredible. He gets takedowns from positions that he shouldn't get takedowns from. The first takedown he landed was like an inside trip. He was off balance and he landed an inside trip on a guy who, right, he's not a wrestler, but he's a guy who has developed a really good defensive takedown game, because that's what he had to do to keep on the feet for all the knockouts that he's had. He just lands these takedowns, and once he gets you down, he's just a nightmare on top. He's probably the closest person I would compare him to, and I think he said it on the broadcast, would be Cain Velasquez when he gets on top. Like, what Cain Velasquez done to Junior Dos Santos was similar to what Khabib does to everybody, especially Edson Barboza last night. His ground strikes are just terrifying, and he gets you in positions where the ground strikes are even worse because he traps an arm, he lands big shots. He's excellent, and you're probably right. He might be the best lightweight on the planet, possibly. You know, it's definitely
it's quite weird. Like Edson Barboza, as Robin Black always says, if we know it, they know it, right? So everybody knew it. Khabib wants to get you to the ground, right? That's the idea. He wants to get you to the ground. Stop him. Try stop him. Stop that. And then when he gets you to the ground, he's like just an anaconda. He just slowly moves up, swallowing your body and beating the face off you. Like, did you see after about 2 minutes of the fight, the camera zoomed in on Barboza's face, and you could just see him like staring off, going, holy, like, what do I do here? Esther Lynn from MMA Fighting took an amazing photograph where you can just see Barboza. It looks like a 10,000 yard stare. He's just blank. There's no answer to that. It's Cain Velasquez, and you can even hear him in the corner. I don't know if you picked it up, Rob. They're saying to Khabib, they're coaching him, going, right, go more Cain now, go more Cain. And when you get it here, go a bit more DC, do a bit more, and they're naming it by their fighters. But like, when it gets there, like, oh my God, like, he's talking to the fighters when he has them on the ground. The way he does the wrist pick and pulls your arm behind your back and just beats the head off you. And it's Luke Thomas, another shout out to Luke. Luke Thomas again pointed out something like, Cruz and Rogan could not keep up in commentary with what he was doing on the mat. He was doing it that quick and passing. His game has evolved so much even on the ground to where he gets into side control, into mount, into positions. He just beats the brakes off Barboza. He nullified Edson Barboza to the scary factor. He even tried to stand a little bit. The one thing, and Andy Young called it great, he wasn't dealing with the inside leg kicks very well. What I thought, I rewatched the fight today, and one thing I'd be wary of, and I'm not saying it would happen, and this is to bring the point here to the lads there in commentary, Theo, how do I think you do against Conor? If Khabib was, did you see where he almost steps in and he just walks up like this, and just closes the distance, grabs them, gets the body lock, gets an inside trip or outside trip and gets them down. Like, I think if he was to just walk in like this, he is putting himself at huge vulnerability to Conor McGregor's left hand, or combinations of Conor cuts and angles off. But Right, I know. Obviously, we're going to say that if Conor McGregor lands his left hand on majority of people in the 55-45 division, they're going to sleep. They're getting knocked out. They're done. But Edson Barboza is probably one of the most elite strikers on the UFC roster, and he couldn't do it. So if he can, and he has a lot more armory, maybe I might say, he's a lot more attacks, I'd say, than Conor.
Yeah, he probably has more tools in his
yeah. What Conor, I think what Conor has is better than most in what they are. But let's say Conor has, say, 5. Edson Barboza could have 10 different variations of attacks, and he couldn't land. He was landing some kicks where Khabib mentioned after the fight that he felt them. They were sore. They were very sore, and he was like, I can't take too many of these. But I just think it's naive on both parties. Let's talk Team Khabib. I think it's naive to say he's just going to walk Conor down, take him down and beat the head off him, right? I think that's naive to say. I also think it's naive on the McGregor side of the fence to say if he walks in like that, Conor will knock him out. Because I don't think that's the case on either fraction. I think that's what makes this fight incredible, is that if Conor can keep it standing, what can Khabib do? But the big, that's a huge question. Can Conor keep it standing? How, like, Khabib's double leg, for example, his initial takedown isn't amazing. He might miss on the first takedown, but he'll stay on your ankle. He'll move up to a single. Yeah, and I honestly think you could give him your toenail. You could start off in your toenail, and Khabib will somehow, it might be a second, third, or fourth, but he'll eventually get you down. Can Conor stop that? Can Khabib come in and stay out of that left hand? Can he avoid that left hand of Conor? And it's weird that we're only saying the left hand of Conor. Conor sets up a lot of his shots with the paw and right as well. And Conor has beautiful capoeira kicks in him as well. His beautiful movement as well, and the angles and speed and precision that Conor has, I think, is what's better than Barboza. I think Conor is more precise. His accuracy is like, Conor is like a sniper, and if that left it lands on that chin, I don't think Khabib can take it. But this is what I love about this fight is it going to happen? But I don't think we're going to see that first anyway, people. I think we are genuinely going to see Conor against Ferguson next anyway. Yeah,
I agree with you. I think it's a very, very difficult matchup for Conor. He's always going to struggle with people who can wrestle very well, who has a really good gas tank and can pull him into the deep waters. I think it's always going to be difficult for him there. But you can't disregard what he has done in MMA. Let's just completely take away the whole boxing stuff and the Mayweather fight. Let's not even talk about that. But what he's done to guys who have shown great chins, like Eddie Alvarez, who doesn't really get finished like he did get finished against Conor. You look at that and you can see that Conor has something in his hands where maybe he's not the hardest hitter. I don't personally think he's the hardest hitter in the division. I think it's just his timing, where he can land that left hand from weird angles and land it when guys can't see it. So I think it's possible there. Like, if you watch, say, the Cain Velasquez versus Junior Dos Santos fight, I think that's a good comparison, where Cain Velasquez is an absolutely nightmare matchup for Junior Dos Santos. But the first fight, Junior Dos Santos caught him early. And that can happen, it really can. I just think if you're going to look at that fight and say what Khabib does well, what Conor does well, and what Conor doesn't do well, and what Khabib doesn't do well, I think you have to lean towards Khabib, because what he's done to guys like Barboza, who are excellent strikers, who was doing well on the start, he was landing some good shots, and Khabib just walked through them. He landed like a spinning wheel kick, and Khabib just said nope and just continued on. Who knows, if Conor lands that left hand, maybe it will wobble him, but we haven't seen Khabib get wobbled yet.
And you know, it's a weird one as well. It's something that we haven't spoken about. Conor McGregor hasn't fought in 2017, right? And he was training. Now, don't get me wrong, you know what I mean? He's trained his whole life in mixed martial arts, so I don't think that is that big. But I honestly think that if he was to fight Khabib first, if Khabib was Conor's comeback fight, it's possibly the worst way he'd fight him. As in the worst scenario for Conor to come back and fight Khabib. I think if he was to fight Khabib, he'd have to fight Ferguson first, if you know what I mean. And what I actually liked, contrary to what every other fighter, be it in featherweight, lightweight or welterweight, has done, is Khabib didn't call out Conor. He called out Ferguson. He was like, no, Ferguson has 10-fight win streak.
That's what I love about Khabib as a character, because he's extremely, I think, truthful when he talks to the media, talks to anybody. Like, I was watching his pre-fight interview with Ariel Helwani, and he asked him, do you believe that you need to go in here and you need to prove that first you can make weight and that you're not going to miss weight, and then you need to prove with a great performance that you're still like an elite fighter in this division. He's like, yeah, and he's not really. A lot of other fighters will go in there and say, no, it's fine, like I made weight this many times, or it's fine, I beat everybody. But he's very truthful with himself, and he's saying, like, I don't think Conor's going to come back, what's the point? And I think we should also speak about the possibility of Khabib versus Tony Ferguson, because that's just insane. That just makes me happy that's a possible matchup. I just hope that it does happen if it's booked.
The famous Michael Johnson had Khabib rocked in the early fight. Comments are starting to come through on the comments here, lads. Again, this is what camp you're coming from. Brendan, actually, sorry, Donovan, Brendan's not here today. He's busy, unfortunately. He couldn't make the times today.
Next week.
Yeah.
By the way, if this is everybody's first time tuning into the show, we're generally not this unprofessional sitting at home. We have a
beautiful
nice studio. That will be there next week.
And if it is your first time, you only come across us, hit subscribe. We won't say it again, Jonah. So hit that little subscribe button. But yeah, it's like this is the Conor Khabib thing. I think will go on. Hopefully the fight happens. It's a fight I'd love to see happen, because there's no, they haven't fought, so we can't say it. You can't judge if Michael Johnson landed a shot, if Conor would land that shot.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Johnson is a very different style of fighter to Conor. He throws combinations very differently. So using MMA maths, just ask Neil Seary what he thinks of that. When I put it to him, he called me a fucking idiot for it. But yeah, I think what's next for Khabib? Is it Ferguson? It depends. When Dana was saying that Conor will be back hopefully in the summer if he wants to come back and fight. Khabib said he wants to fight 3 times in 2018, once before Ramadan and twice after Ramadan. So I'd love to see an active Khabib. And I think somebody clearly commented on my Facebook thing saying he's best. Saying, do I really think he's the best? He's not that active. Who's better than him?
Yeah,
that would be my solution right now. If you were to put Khabib against anybody, honestly, in the comments here, and honestly, say who you think. If you think it's Conor, say Conor. If you think it's Tony, say Tony. Right now, all fighters fit, squaring off against each other. Let's say next Saturday, who beats Khabib? Or
No,
everything missed. But no, I just think. I just think Tony, just to stay out, I think Tony and Conor will fight. I do think it'll be before Christmas. I just think there's a bit of posturing going on. Conor has come out on Twitter as well, sort of saying, beg me, I don't need this or something. He said he looked like dog shit on Saturday night, Conor.
Yeah, you can go through, we have a look through them as well. But if Conor does fight Ferguson, who does Khabib fight?
Kevin Lee. Somebody actually asked earlier who does Kevin Lee fight next? Kevin Lee?
Coming off a loss though.
Let's have a look.
I'll go through some of the comments here. King Killer, stand on the feet, Conor wins 99%. On the ground, Khabib wins 99%. You never know yet, it's possible. Keep going, look through the comments.
Would you put him in against Dustin Poirier?
I like that fight. I don't think... No, I'm not going to say that Dustin Poirier doesn't deserve that fight. That's not the right words to use. But I don't think it's the right matchup. But I do like the fight. I have no problem with it. I think it's again a horrible matchup for Dustin Poirier. But I think Khabib versus X, Y, and Z, Khabib's a horrible matchup for every one of them. There's not really somebody in that division that I'd say this is a great matchup. But honestly, I think Tony Ferguson has the best style to compete with Khabib, just because he's so chaotic on the floor. Maybe he can get something done off his back.
Just
get back
looking at the top, even the top 5 or 6, you've Ferguson coming off a win. You've obviously Khabib coming off a win. Barboza is ranked 3, coming off a loss. Obviously Eddie Alvarez, who would imagine will be out for a while with them leg kicks he took off Gaethje, is coming off a win. Conor is coming off a win, and Dustin Poirier is coming off a win. Then the rest of the top 10 are all coming off losses. So realistically, Dustin Poirier probably is the fight to make.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Interesting.
Like we'll see. I don't think it's really set that Conor's going to fight Tony. I'd be still kind of surprised if they announced that. Even though I think that's the right fight to make, it's really the only fight to make. If Conor's gonna come back, I think it'd be insane if Conor comes back and doesn't fight Tony and keeps the title. I think that would just be absolutely insane. I think that fight needs to happen, but I'd still be very surprised if they announced it for some reason.
Yeah, it is weird. Let's move on to the main event, Rob. I think we've covered that quite a bit. Cyborg taking on Holly Holm. A lot of people say this is the biggest fight ever in women's MMA. Would you agree with that? Before the fight,
maybe the best matchup. I don't think the biggest fight.
Okay. What did you think of the fight?
I thought it was a very good fight. I thought Holly Holm done pretty well. She made a good of account of herself, but I just thought Cyborg was just too good. I wasn't surprised the way the fight went, but I just thought Holly at times could have done a little bit better in certain situations. But then again, Cyborg is Cyborg, and she's very, very difficult to beat. And she's turned into a great counter striker. Like, I was kind of surprised how good of a counter striker she was on Saturday night. Every time Holly Holm stepped in, Cyborg landed something big. And I think what they said on the commentary in the commentary booth was the impact of the shots. You could clearly see when Cyborg was landing, they were doing some damage. When Holly Holm was landing, they weren't really doing a whole lot of damage. So yeah, it was a good fight, but yeah, Cyborg just kind of proves that she's the queen of that division, and I don't know who's going to be put in there against her next, because I can't really see anybody. Megan Anderson, I still think way too early for Megan Anderson, but it's probably the only real fight you can make.
I think the game plan seems to be a theme today. I thought that Holly Holm had a great game plan. I think the idea was the thought was that Cyborg won't have the fuel in the tank to go 4 or 5 rounds. She certainly proved she did. I was hugely impressed with Holly Holm as well, I have to say. Even in defeat, like, there's not many women that can take shots that Cyborg was landing. She had some success herself. I had actually picked Holly Holm coming up to this fight because I just thought her foot movement, I thought she'd take an advantage of Cyborg's aggression, but in a weird way, in a better way as well, I should point out. I think Cyborg controlled her aggression a lot better, and she used it a lot better. She wasn't just coming in looking to wreak havoc and land these killer blows and essentially blow all her energy. She actually controlled her aggression a lot more. And I think that goes down to the man in her corner as well. Perillo is absolutely nailing it. Tito Ortiz is digging graves and everything, you know what I mean, in the corner there. But no, I just thought Cyborg looked absolutely phenomenal. The big question is who is next for her? Who can stand with her? Holly Holm, I think, coming out, it's crazy to think. I think Holly Holm is now 4 losses in her last 5 fights in the UFC.
2 at 45 though.
2 at 45. I think her home is 135. And again, similar to what we were saying with Condit, you know, Holly Holm doesn't look like a finished fighter. She certainly looks like she could be thereabouts. I think she honestly went 5 rounds with the best female fighter on the planet. Like, Cyborg is she's an anomaly. She's something that I don't think you'll see again. She's like, again, watching the Embedded and the what's the other one, the Countdown show, like what she puts into her training, her sport, everything. She just lives, breathes everything mixed martial arts. She's a worthy champion. I'm delighted they have the division, the 145 division. The problem is finding women to step in there to fight her. But I think Holly Holm decorated herself very well. She just went 5 rounds with the best. And she done well. Like, she got badly beat up, you could say, in it, you know, looking at her face after it, but she had some success in the fight as well. Some people were saying that
did you score in the rounds?
I haven't rewatched it, so you got to remember it was 5:30 on the other morning. I might have had 1 or 2 beers.
I'll tell you what I scored, because I was just thinking back now. I think it's very difficult to score a fight when you're trying to enjoy it. I think as a fan, I think scoring fights is a very difficult thing unless you're sitting down to score the fight. So in that moment, while I was watching the fight, you know, having a drink, maybe eating a little bit, kind of looking away for a second, I gave the first round to Holly Holm. That's the only round I gave to her, the first round. I know a lot of people didn't give her that round, and I know a lot of people just gave Cyborg a clean sweep, which I'm fine with, because again, it's difficult to score the rounds without actually kind of sitting down to score them. So yeah, first round, the rest Cyborg, but you know, probably a clean sweep is fine as well.
Just while I'm looking here, AJ Hardy is saying Dustin Poirier, Khabib, and then hitting him with a LOL. The reason why we're saying that, AJ, is who else is there apart from Tony or Conor? Poirier and Alvarez are the only 2 on winning streaks at the moment, coming off a win. Maybe so Alvarez. That's the reason why, that's the way we're putting there. I just think Alvarez is badly hurt with his leg. I think it's going to take a while before we see Alvarez back in there. One thing I want to point out here as well, and I deliberately pulled up Bloody Elbow because I wanted to get this fucking dickhead's name. Where is he? Mark something his name is. The photographer for Jackson Winkeljohn. Went on to, so he's credited, I'm trying to find his name, why can't I see it? Mark Aragon. He is the official photographer for the Jackson Winkeljohn team. Not to say this is the overall opinion of the Wink team, but he went on Instagram and posted a picture of Cyborg, and the post said, "This dude is as tough as hell." That being said, at the press conference, he said Holly was the one to make his nose bleed. "You are my hero, Holly Holm. See you back in the gym." Basically saying that Chris Cyborg is a man. Do you know what, Mark Aragon? You're a fucking dickhead, and I hope they fucking sack you out of your job. To be going as a credentialed media member to a UFC event and putting up a post about a female fighter like that is absolutely disgusting. I hope you never get a credential for any mixed martial arts or boxing or whatever promotion ever again, and I hope Jack Winkeljohn kick you out the fucking door as well, because that's absolutely disgusting. You're a scumbag, and that's all I want to say about the prick.
Yeah, man, I don't think I can say too much else. It was very, very unprofessional. But yeah, just very, very unprofessional. There's not too much else you can say. Yeah, well said.
So let's look at the big event. Well, one notable actually is I want to look back as well. Louis Smolka. Bad defeat for Louis as well, and he's now looking, that's 4 in a row for Louis Smolka. Big talk, Dana, this might be his only saving grace potentially in the UFC. Dana was talking that they're interested and they're looking at UFC Hawaii. Could that be the only one to keep him on the UFC roster? You don't see too many getting 4 in the hole and staying on with the promotion.
No, you don't, and maybe it is the UFC Hawaii thing that'll keep him there. He's an incredibly exciting fighter to watch, Louis Smolka, when he's on. And you know, when he had that initial run, when he beat Neil Seery, then Paddy Houlihan, then Ben Nguyen, I was very, very impressed with him, and I thought this guy's going to go on a run. I didn't know if he's going to get the title, contendership, but I thought he was going to go on a run. Unfortunately, he didn't. But yeah, I think the only thing that will save him is the UFC Hawaii spot. Maybe going out to the UFC might be a good thing for him as well. But yeah, it's unfortunate he didn't really make it to where I thought he was going to make it. That's 2, was it?
2-0 United.
Nice.
Jesse Lingard. But yeah, it is weird that I always think when you're a good fighter, you shouldn't be punished, and when you put on exciting fights. So I think definitely Hawaii could be a saving grace as well. But Rob, let's look ahead. It's something I want to talk a little bit about. 2018, like our New Year's resolution. I don't believe in them, but what should happen in the UFC in 2018? I'll get the ball rolling. I think it's quite simple. Our chat seems to be an awful lot about a certain Mr. McGregor, but I honestly think that Conor McGregor, certainly in the first half of the year, has to defend his title.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'll give you mine after this, but definitely agree with that. I think if Conor comes back and he doesn't defend his title, you have to strip him. There's no two ways about it. You have to strip him. You have an interim champion there. We spoke about this last week, and it kind of leads into my one. If you have an interim champion there should be some kind of rule around that interim title. If the guy doesn't come back and defend in a certain time period, and there's not an outstanding reason to keep the title on him, strip him. Or if he comes back and he doesn't defend his title, and it's a choice on their part and not something that's pushed upon them, you have to strip the title. But I do agree, he comes back, he needs to defend that title, hopefully against Tony Ferguson, because that's the interim champ.
And what's your New Year's resolution?
The UFC need to restore order into divisions. So it's a similar thing, but I think the UFC need to get away from super fights where possible. Back in the Zuffa days, back before WME, IMG were around, we kind of spoke about super fights, but they were things that would happen every once in a while. Now it seems like every time somebody becomes a champ, just look at TJ Dillashaw, he just became a champ, he wants to go fight Mighty Mouse. Garbrandt before him wanted to go fight Mighty Mouse. You have Conor fighting people up and down divisions. It seems like there's only a few champions who are really wanting to stay in their divisions. Obviously you have the heavyweight champ, Stipe wants to stay there, he's fighting a killer, and so on. So I think the UFC need to push to put order back in the divisions. They brought in rankings to kind of show the viewers where people sat in the divisions, and they don't mean anything, they mean absolutely nothing. So I think the UFC need to work towards bringing order back to divisions.
I 100% agree with that. I honestly think there should be, like, it doesn't need to be a written rule, but an unwritten rule. You cannot become the champion out of a division and move to a different weight class unless, number one, you're saving a card and it's a short notice fight, or number two, you have at least 3 defenses of your championship. There's too much bunny hopping going around, but this is the big thing with the new owners, is that they're trying to recoup the big money they've spent on buying the UFC. So for them, the big fights they see, they want to try and put on to get the most capital back in. But they should look at this as a marathon and not a sprint as well, and to build certain careers. I'd like to see them. This is something as well Joe Rogan spoke about. It was very hard to push every fighter on the roster. I hope that 2018 isn't a year of trash talkers who can't trash talk, and I don't even mean it to, because for a long time it was coming a bit WWE-ish. It was coming very pro wrestling, even like the promos that the UFC were cutting, where they were all, you know, like, I love nothing more than hearing Conor slay something, or Chael Sonnen, like, just spitting some absolute murderous, tarnished shite. But it's brilliant. It builds a fight, it promotes a fight, and I think that's all well and good. But when you don't have trash talkers, I honestly think there's no point doing it. I'd like to see them back some of their fighters a little bit more. I'd like to see them push Amanda Nunes a lot more. Amanda Nunes is a phenomenal champion. Her and Cyborg, we're just talking about no more super matches, but her and Cyborg, I think down the line, I honestly think potentially down the line, Amanda Nunes defends her belt a couple of times, Cyborg gets to defend her belt a couple of times, and end of year card next year, December of next year, this year I should say now, make Cyborg Nunes, if both of them are still champions. That'd be a fucking incredible fight. I'd like to see the UFC come into Europe a little bit more, and by Europe I'm going to be greedy and say Ireland, but Northern Ireland, UK, I'd like to see them do that a little bit more. We've had a lot of visits here. You could see like the market here with KSW coming to Ireland, with Cage Warriors coming back to Ireland, with Bama coming to Ireland, with Bellator coming to Ireland. There's a lot of untapped amazing pros, both in Ireland, UK and Europe, and you can start to see them tapping the Russian market, especially now with Khabib there. You know, it's not going to, like, Russians are absolute killers. You only have to look at the ACB league to see the absolute skill set. And I would like to see, I know when they bought the UFC, when they took it over, they sort of said they're going to do more regional shows, and by that they mean in the States and stuff. But I'd like to see them venture and sign a lot of the top pros in Europe here as well. But I'd like to see them return to Ireland and the UK a lot more, rather than just, I know they're coming back. Dana had said something about February. That hasn't not come to fruition now, hasn't it? They mentioned London, but I'd like to see them, the likes of going to Glasgow, going to London, even like, I don't know, like Cardiff, I don't know if there's a stadium there, Dublin, Belfast, like these would all sell out, and, you know, bring some stars and really get the UFC pushing it, because it's a hotbed in Europe for MMA at the moment, and the UFC is the #1 promotion. Like, I don't care, like KSW, like, I watched that KSW event last week online. I'm like, holy shit, like, they are so good. Like, the promotion and the setup, the production of KSW is second to none. And I mean that, second to none. It's incredible. So how can the UFC not see this, not see KSW selling out venues? You might argue that the UFC is so big that there's not a big enough venue here in Ireland. But if they were to have a couple of big European fighters and put them on an Irish card, it's selling out. Yeah, I know we had Conor, and Conor was going to sell it, but come here, the UFC sold out the Three Arena, the Point Depot, long before Conor McGregor was the Irish flagship holder for Irish MMA. So, you know, just they can have an event here and not have Conor McGregor on it, and it'll still be a huge success.
It's still a huge event, but you can't, when I'm looking at this, I'm looking at it a bit deeper, because if you look at those events, the 2 Ireland events, or the 2 or 3 Ireland events, there was a couple, they were huge successes for the UFC. In terms of the attendance, it was jam-packed. It was difficult to get a ticket. I know the Conor event, the one where he fought Diego Brandao, I know Ariel Helwani, I know a lot of MMA fighting guys and a lot of MMA junkie guys went to it, and Ariel Helwani said it was one of the best events he's ever been. Now that, like, if you're watching that at home, maybe it wasn't, because the fights weren't really that great. There was some good fights, but I think the feeling in that arena and kind of the emotion of it took over a lot of people. So I don't see the UFC looking at those events that they had here and saying those were not a success. So there has to be another reason. There has to be the fact that maybe they're not making a whole lot of money off it, maybe they're losing money on it. There has to be something else, because by all accounts, by every kind of measure that you can have, those events were hugely successful. It just must be something to do with not making any money. Maybe the arena, maybe, I don't know, TV rights, something like that.
One thing I'm really looking forward to as well, and it's funny, Luke Thomas again. Hey Luke, Luke Thomas brought up in his. Can you tell I listened to his podcast while out yesterday? Luke Thomas had said that, you know, Bellator failing, you know what I mean? They're doing well in Europe, but are they doing well domestically in the States, you know? But one thing they have coming up is this heavyweight thing, and I gotta say, I'm all keyed up for Rampage Chael. Chael is selling it the way Chael sells it, you know?
Heavyweight tournament.
Yeah, I've got a mouthpiece, you've got a mouthpiece, let's do this, you know? I absolutely love Chael Sonnen, but I'm intrigued to see that. This is just me. Brief 2018, I can't look that far. Come on, hindsight. I cannot wait to see Stipe Miocic and Francis Ngannou. What an incredible, crazy fight that's going to be. That for me is looking at. Go on.
I want to do one thing before we finish up on what we want to see in 2018. I want to do a little fun thing, and if anyone's in the chat, join in, because this is kind of stupid because it's impossible to say, but also a little bit of fun. So I'm just going to go through the champions. I'm going to say, is this person going to be the champion at the end of the year? If not, give a guess. Just give anybody, all right? So we'll start with the women's divisions. The strawweight, the smallest weight class in the UFC, 115 pounds. Current champion, Rose Namajunas. This time next year, the 1st of January 2019, is Rose Namajunas still the champ?
No, Joanna Jędrzejczyk for me will come back and be the champion.
I actually agree with that one. I agree.
Joanna's gonna go away. That defeat is hurting her, but Joanna is the type that I think that's gonna drive her insane, and by insane, become obsessed, similar to the way Conor was obsessed when he lost to Nate. And I think Joanna will come back and avenge that. Yeah,
I agree. I think I don't see that fight as a Matsura GSP situation. No. Where Rose Namajunas got lucky, and I'm not saying Matsuri only got lucky because he's extremely talented as well, but you know, on the whole, you have to look at that and say, yeah, George St. Pierre wins that fight 99% of the times. But I don't think that's the case with Rose and Joanna. I think if they fight 100 times, maybe I'd lean towards Joanna 60 times and Rose 40. But I think that fight's going to happen again. I think Joanna's going to win, so I think she's going to be champ at the end of the year. I think
they'll make Joanna. I think they'll both have a fight in between though. I don't think they'll match them straight away.
Yeah, do you not think so?
Could be the big summer fight, you know, the UFC fight week and all that. Brian Martin thinks Rose will still be the champion.
Nice. I think I see JJ getting the revenge, but I wouldn't bet on it. So all right, that's interesting. Let me see. I'm gonna go back to the champs. Next up in the women's divisions, 135 pounds. Amanda Nunes. Will she be the champ the first next year?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think our biggest threat is Shevchenko, but I think Shevchenko was talking about cutting, isn't she?
Down, yeah. Yeah, possibly going down.
So that could be an argument too. Actually, will Shevchenko be the champion?
Yeah. Actually, I think the 125 pound champ. She's not on the list here. I need to get her now. Champ. I didn't watch Tough, as you can probably guess.
Who knows?
Yeah, yeah, who knows?
No, who knows? That's a complete unknown.
Yeah, I think it's a complete unknown fighter. I think she's like 3-2 or something, or 4-2. I think Shevchenko's going to get down to that division. She's going to be champ.
Yeah,
but I also agree. Amanda Nunes, I think she's going to be champ.
Yeah. Okay.
Moving on, Chris Cyborg, the featherweight champ.
Yeah,
I agree. Nothing much else to say about that.
No.
Demetrius Johnson at flyweight.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just don't see anyone. We've said it. We always say you're only unbeatable until you're beaten. That sounds so silly, but I just don't see anybody. There's nobody I can see in the rearview mirror of Demetrius Johnson that's beaten him.
I completely agree. There's nobody really there. Funny enough, we didn't talk about it, but Ryzen happened, and potentially the second best featherweight in the flyweight in the world won the bantamweight GP in Ryzen. Very, very impressive. I'd like to see him back in the UFC, but still,
yeah,
they compete.
He is making bank.
Yeah, he is.
In Japan, so.
TJ Dillashaw at 135 pounds. That's an interesting one.
No.
Who's
Jimmy Rivera.
Jimmy Rivera. Nice pick.
Jimmy Rivera.
Does he get the next title shot, or does he have to fight again to get one?
I have to fight again to get one.
Yeah. I'm going to say TJ Dillashaw is the champion, because I think somehow they're going to do this Demetrius Johnson fight sometime down the line. I think he's only going to fight probably once at bantamweight and maybe fight at flyweight or something. So I think he's going to be the champ. Featherweight, Max Holloway.
Yes.
Yes.
He will have a very difficult fight, though, potentially against Brian Ortega.
Yeah, I think so too.
And that's I don't think anybody in that division beats him except Brian Ortega.
Yeah, I think Brian Ortega is an interesting one, because, as we said when we were speaking about Brian Ortega last time, he has that huge X factor that Max Holloway probably hasn't really seen. I think Jose Aldo is excellent on the ground, but never got to see it. Where Brian Ortega, he's the guy who will really push his game plan on you. He'll go for takedowns, he'll push for you, he'll pull guard. So it'll be very, very good to see what Max Holloway can do there. I do think Holloway beats him.
Look what he done to Cub Swanson.
Yeah,
like, Jesus
insane.
Christ. Oh.
Here's the interesting one. Lightweight, Conor McGregor.
What do you think?
Let me think.
This could really set off the comment section. Will Conor McGregor be the lightweight champion?
See,
yeah, if he doesn't come back, they won't strip him.
Yeah, this is difficult, because will they strip him? I don't know. I don't think at this point. I don't think they're going to strip him.
No.
So if he comes back, who will he fight? He should fight Tony Ferguson, and I think that's a very competitive fight. I think that's a good fight. I think
he beats Ferguson.
I think that's a fight where both guys can win. I think Ferguson can win in certain situations. I think Conor can win. I'd probably favour Conor in that one. Although if they somehow do Khabib Ferguson and Khabib fights Conor when he comes back for the title, I think Khabib will be champ at the end of the year. But if it matches up where Conor comes back, fights Ferguson, and he doesn't fight again, doesn't fight Khabib or anything like that, I think he's champ. But I'm gonna bank on that one, so I'm gonna say yes, he's champ next year.
Go on, sir. Look, it's 2018. I'll go with a mad prediction. Conor McGregor will fight one more time in 2018, defend his belt, retire from MMA, and become a professional boxer.
Is that are you just joking now, or is that your actual prediction?
I could see Conor going to boxing on a full time. I can honestly see Conor going to boxing. Like, why would you fight for like 20 million or whatever if he's not even getting that fighting UFC? But like, he'd be getting 50, 60, 70 million boxing every time. So that's a bit stupid now. But no, Conor's not going to be the champion. I'm not going to say he's going to lose it, but come this time next year, I don't think he'll be the lightweight champion.
Okay. 170, Tyron Woodley.
That's a tough one.
That is a tough one.
Because there's a lot of up and comers. Like, if you look at, like, you've obviously Till, you've Usman. I think them two fights are incredibly difficult fights for Wonderboy, for Woodley.
What do you think of Dos Anjos against Woodley?
I think Woodley's too big for him. Yeah. Christ, it's a tough one.
Yeah.
It's a very tough one. Do you know what I'm going to say? Yeah, Tyron Woodley will be the champion, because Tyron, he gets a lot of hate from people, but Tyron Woodley is an incredible fighter, but he's also an incredible game planner. Bringing up the theme of episode here, but he's an incredible game planner. So it wouldn't surprise me if we're still a champion. Who would I like to see the champion? The 205-pound gorilla. I'd love to see Darren Till as the champion, but will he get there by the time next year? Like, he's really, the big notable win was Cowboy. Not taking that in the way, saying his only big notable win, but that was the one that sort of started the snowball. So he's got to keep going, and I don't think he'll get a title shot before this time next year. Depends who he beats. Like, if he was to beat,
man, if he goes in there and he beats, say Usman, if Usman wins and he beats Usman, that puts him right up there, I think, for a decent number of contendership. And with the kind of streak that he's been on, I think that division's kind of starving for a star to come in there, because the Robbie Lawler fight against Woodley, I don't think they're going to do that anytime soon, even if he gets a couple of wins. The Stephen Wonderboy Thompson fight, I think it's very difficult for them to make that fight just because of the way the other ones went. Even though one was a draw, I still don't see them making that. So you know, if they don't do RDA, if RDA loses in the meantime, that could be the next one. I think one or two more fights and Darren Till could get a title shot. I really do.
Depends who he's fighting. The whole rankings thing, like a win. If he was to fight Mike Perry, which it looks like that's what the two of them wants. Yeah, I think it's a huge win, but I don't think it would carry the same weight as if he was to fight Ponzinibbio or if he was to fight Usman. A victory over Perry would be amazing for us fight fans. We would clearly love it. But I just think UFC with the whole rankings don't work thing. I just think, you know, beating Perry right now isn't the victory to catapult you up for a title shot.
Yeah. Potentially, yeah. I'm gonna say that Woodley isn't the champ. I'm gonna say Darren Till is the champ. I'm just gonna go with it. I think it's gonna be a John Jones situation where he gets a title fight. Maybe not off the biggest win of his career or the biggest win that you probably should have, but he gets a title fight because they need to make a title fight for some reason. I don't know, something crazy. They make a title fight and he wins it. But
great shout, Brian Martin, GSP 170 champion.
Oh. GSP is going to be the 170 champion. He's going to get a title fight. No, I'm going to have
GSP will come. Yeah, but like if Dana White has come back and said, you know, if you are coming back, you're either fighting Whittaker or you're fighting Woodley. They're both waiting for you. So Brian Martin, you could have absolutely nailed. But who knows, Brian? He potentially could win the fight, go backstage, have a drink of water, and vacate it. So we never know, you know.
Yeah, I'll go through the comments really quickly. Conor and Mayweather are going to start their own MMA competition by then, in competition with the UFC. Imagine that if that comes true. That'd be hilarious. That was King Killer. Steel Giles, Darren Till for 170. 170. Brian Martin said 170 here as well. Ponzinibbio. Philip Cody said Ponzinibbio. That's a good show. He's a guy who really is flying under the radar. He has some great wins. He just beat Mike Perry, and it's crazy. People are still talking about Mike Perry, but Ponzinibbio beat him and beat him well.
Yeah.
It could be, yeah. Cool.
Right, go up 185.
185.
Whittaker,
yeah.
Yeah, Whittaker will still be the champion.
I agree. Whittaker will still be the champ. Light heavyweight Daniel Cormier fights Volkan Oezdemir very, very soon.
No, he won't be, because he won't be the champion. I'm not going to say he's going to lose to Volkan, but he won't be competing this time next year.
Interesting shout. Yeah, he did say that he only has a couple of fights left in him. And he's generally fairly active. So I think he will get 2 or 3 more fights this year and then possibly retire. I'm going to say no, he's not going to be champ. I'm going to say Volkan Oezdemir is the champ, but I'm not going to say
maybe not this time.
Yeah, maybe it mightn't be this time, but I think he's going to be the champ by the end of the year. And the final one,
Alexander Gustafsson.
Good shout, yeah. Final one, heavyweight. The fight that happens very soon is the heavyweight title fight. Stipe Miocic, champion at the moment, fights Francis Ngannou, the destroyer of worlds. But will Stipe Miocic get past him? And if he gets past him, will he be able to keep it until the end of the year?
The UFC heavyweight title is the real pass the parcel title.
Yeah, the next one was a 3 title victories in the year.
Yeah, Brock Lesnar holds it. Yeah. So it's insane. It's insane to even contemplate picking this.
Yeah.
Like you could say Stipe Miocic, yes, he will be the champion this time next year. He may have lost it, he may have won it back, and he may have defended it by then. So you know what I mean? It's Francis Ngannou could do the same. Yes, Francis Ngannou will be the champion this time next year. He may lose to Stipe in January. We'll fight him again and then be the champion. So no, I'm sticking with what I've always said last year. My pick, Francis Ngannou will be the heavyweight champion this time next year.
I agree. I think Francis beats Stipe next. That's my pick. I'm going to make it right now, unless something crazy happens until then. But if we do the preview show for that card and I don't pick Francis Ngannou, call me out on it and ask me why. But I think he wins that fight, and I think he keeps it. I don't know how many times he's going to fight from then, but yeah, I think Francis Ngannou champion by the 1st of January 2018.
Well, there we go, folks. 2018. What a year ahead. What a year it's been. It's been a great year again for Absolute Fight Talk. Me and Rob, thank you all for listening. Not just the ones listening to us now. Thank you, though. But everybody who's listened to us, subscribed to us, shared all our stuff through 2017. It's been a great year. We found a new home, a new studio. This isn't it. But we'll be back in studio next week. We have a lot of good things lined up, good guests lined up. By all means, always comment who you'd like us to try and get on the show. We can't guarantee them. We only just reach out out and try to get people. But it's been a successful year for us, so thanks for tuning in and keeping obviously Fight Talk ticking on. Me and Rob love talking MMA. We would do this even if we weren't on record. We would just talk nonsense to one another, but it's good when people are listening. So thanks for that. Thanks to MMAmix.com. They're obviously good because they're with obviously Fight Talk to share all our stuff. Check out their website. They do things a little different over there, and that's why we like them. To Fight Star Ireland, the Fighter's Choice. If you want to go and get yourself some good gear, lads, and by that I don't mean heroin, I mean boxing products, the likes of all your CBDs, all that sort of stuff, go on to Fight Star Ireland, check them out, tell them we sent you. Claire and Steph will look after you. And then to feelsupreme.co.uk if you want to get 10% off what they sell. They look after the Chinese, all the CBD oils, all the recovery, all natural organic products. Use the code Fight Talk at the checkout, that'll get you 10% off. This has been episode 96 potentially. It's been live. We're back in studio next year. Next week.
Well, no, it's this year. One thing I will say is we are throwing around the idea of doing maybe an extra thing. So the full show gets released on a Tuesday. We do that in studio, but maybe some during the week where we'll come on here for maybe 40 minutes or something and chat away about something, and talk to people on the live chat. If people are interested in that, let us know. Tell us on Facebook or in the comments or something. And Jonesy,
much love from Connecticut, from Dublin. But yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in today and all the comments. Good back and forth, which is keep an eye on this. We're going to do a bit more live stuff, as Rob was saying. It's always good to interact fresh as well. But if you haven't already, hit subscribe. Go on to iTunes, we're there as well, or Podbean. You get all the latest stuff. But from me, Noel O'Keefe, thanks very much. From him,
cheers.
Peace.